And welcome back to another episode of Dogs on the Couch, where everybody's allowed to have an opinion. It does not matter if you played the game, you were watching. So you're allowed to have an opinion as well. Let's get to it. Ain't no need to waste no time. The switch up is crazy. The switch up is wild. The switch up is absolutely wild. When we fired Kevin Stefanski, first of all, when we was talking about firing Kevin Stefanski, everybody was like, either A, you stupid for wanting to fire Stefanski, you should fire Andrew Berry. He the real problem because he not getting the proper groceries for the chef to be able to cook. That's what was said. Or either B, it was if Stefanski do get fired, then Andrew Berry need to go with him. But there's no scenario where anybody was saying that you'd be better off and that you'd be headed in a positive direction if you fired Kevin Stefanski, hired somebody else, because anybody else is not going to be as good as Kevin Stefanski. And then not only that Andrew Berry was just so terrible. He don't know how to pick no drafts. He terrible. He don't know how to pick no drafts. He don't know what he doing. Matter of fact, hold on. Let me see. Let me hold on real fast because I have a clip here. This is going to pretty much sum up what I'm saying because the consensus was pretty much this. Outside of people like me, or if you listen to a guy by the name of G. Bush, maybe Skip Bayless, you know what I'm saying? Maybe some people like that or whatever. Like, everybody else was just like, Andrew Berry is trash. He terrible. Now, mind you, I was on the fence about Andrew Berry. Like, wasn't really, you know what I'm saying? Like, I saw the good that he did, and I also saw the not so good that he was doing. But some of the stuff, I'm like, well, look here, man. At the end of the day, they was just more so worried about feeling like Andrew Berry was completely responsible for the Deshaun Watson. And Deshaun Watson is the whole reason that the Browns will never be good ever again in life because they gave Deshaun Watson that contract. When what smarter people who was saying, we like, look, all right, one bad contract. That don't mean you got to have a terrible football team for the rest of the years. That don't mean you just be like, well, woe is me. We can't do anything until we get rid of the Deshaun Watson contract. No, you actually can still find a way to be good. You can. If you pick the right players and run the right schemes for the players that you picked. Okay? Or if you just draw up stuff on offense that fits the players that you have. You might not have a Justin Jefferson, okay? But as long as you got a guy that can catch, all right, we'll draw up some stuff for him. Wes Welker wasn't Justin Jefferson, but he did okay over there with Tom Brady because they drew some stuff up. Josh McDaniels was able to draw some stuff up to get him open, and he caught the ball until he dropped that one in the Super Bowl, and then they let Wes Welker go. They didn't worry about it. They let him go because you can't drop that ball when Brady throwing it to you. But again, anyway, let me just play what this is the general consensus. This is one individual. This is courtesy of at Yap Matt on YouTube. Not too familiar with the guy. I'm pretty sure he ain't too familiar with me either. So I ain't saying it like that. But I'm just saying out of all the outlets I listen to, ain't one of the main ones. But the stuff that he finna spew in this specific video, in this specific short, this is pretty much the consensus of what people were saying, how they felt about people who would dare mention firing Kevin Stefanski, and God forbid, they also say that they're okay with Andrew Berry staying.
Browns fans want Kevin Stefanski fired so bad. And he's the best head coach the Browns have had in God knows how long, and you want him out? The person you guys should be begging to be fired is Andrew Berry, not the guy who's a two-time AP NFL Coach of the Year winner within 3 years of being your head coach. His record as the Browns head coach is 40-38, including...
His record got much worse. It didn't end with 40-38. I do want to point that out. So that lets you know at the time when he made this, because his record got absolutely abysmal as he continued to lose and lose and lose and lose. Let him finish though.
Their first playoff win in God knows how long, with quarterbacks including Baker Mayfield, who was ran out of town by your GM, Joe Flacco, who ended up being the comeback player of the year and once again was ran out by your GM. But yet Stefanski gets all the blame, even though Andrew Berry goes out and signs Deshaun Watson to a $230 million contract, fully guaranteed. Year after year, Andrew Berry makes these big...
I'm going to let him finish. Jimmy Haslam is the one who came out and said that the big swing and the miss was on him. Ironically, in my opinion, I believe he was just saying that to try to cover for Stefanski while Stefanski was here. Because if Deshaun Watson was such a big swing and a miss, why would a new coach and a new system and a new attitude would they be open to trying Deshaun Watson again? Maybe he wasn't such a big swing and a miss, but you had to protect that coach that you had here. That's what you had to do. Not only that, he said the first playoff win in forever. Okay, well, unfortunately, Stefanski was not on the sidelines coaching that game. That was Alex Van Pelt. That was not Kevin Stefanski. So sorry, but that win, it should kind of go more to Alex Van Pelt than it does Kevin Stefanski, because Stefanski was at home in his basement with COVID. So I do want to point those things out about, because they spread misinformation. And then to say that the GM ran Baker Mayfield out of town. No, he didn't. Baker Mayfield came out and had something to say against Kevin Stefanski, not Andrew Berry. He came out and said he can't wait to see Stefanski twice a year in that conference that he just came to, because Stefanski was the one who ain't reach out to him or whatever, what have you. So Baker Mayfield had the problem with Stefanski. He didn't have a problem with Andrew Berry, because I'm pretty sure that if he did, he would have came out and said something about Andrew Berry too, but he didn't. He just talked about Kevin Stefanski. So to say that Andrew Berry ran him out of town, I think that's false. I think that was Kevin Stefanski that ran Baker Mayfield up out of here, because Baker Mayfield had pizzazz. He had personality, and Kevin Stefanski don't like players that's got personality. You got to be cookie cutter, and you got to just do what I say when I say. Don't ever question me. And Baker Mayfield don't necessarily strike me as that kind of guy. So yes, I believe Kevin Stefanski ran Baker Mayfield out of town, as well as other star and or talented players, because that's what Stefanski like to do. Forget your talent, just shut up and run my system. I don't care how talented you are. In fact, get your talented butt out of here and get me somebody else that's just gonna run my system. Which again is why I think you saw a lot of the picks that Barry would be picking, like the David Bells of the world and the Cedric Tillmans of the world and them kinds of guys, where they just like, it's like, wait a minute, what are we doing? And let me, you know what, hold on. Let me just finish letting my guy cook here, because he's gonna say some more about these things.
Big splashes, but he never gets the right fit for the franchise. He only goes after the big names. Kind of reminds me of the GM who was just fired by the Jets a couple days ago. But for some reason, Browns fans love Andrew Berry. What?
So, and then he finished by saying, well, he only goes for big names. I'm struggling trying to think of what big name before last year's draft. I'm trying to think of what big name did he go after. We always skipped over the big names and went after people where we was like, who is that? Who is Cedric Tillman? Who is David Bell? Who are these guys? Who is that? Who is that guy? Who are these guys that you drafted? Who is that? Even with respectfully, even with some of the supposed to have been big names, I guess Jedrick Wills maybe. And I'm like, no, why are we drafting a right tackle and moving them to left? Now, we still doing something like that this year, but it's slightly different, in my opinion. Slightly different. But no, there wasn't no big names. Andrew Berry wasn't just only drafting big name guys, because if he was, we would remember their names, because they're big names. He wasn't drafting no big names, because big name means big personality. And Kevin Stefanski is not a fan of big personalities coming from players. And you're going to have to shut up. You're going to have to run my system. Okay? So we went from this type of narrative being spewed, that if there's anybody that should go and anybody who's not good at their job is Andrew Berry, it ain't Kevin Stefanski. Because Kevin Stefanski, by God, he has those 2-time Coach of the Year awards that are given out by writers. So it's more about like who you friends with. Because if I'm mistaken, I think Mike Tomlin ain't never won that award. And he went 20 years without having a losing season. And I don't think not one time he won that award. And then one of the ones that Kevin got, it should have went to DeMeco Ryans, because DeMeco Ryans beat Kevin Stefanski in that one playoff game that Stefanski actually was on the sidelines coaching for. Yeah, he got smoked by a rookie coach in DeMeco Ryans and a rookie quarterback in the Ohio State kid, CJ Stroud. Stefanski got smoked. The first time he was actually on the sideline calling plays for a playoff game, he got smoked. And then if Andrew Berry ran Joe Flacco out of town, why did he bring him back after, the Ken Dorsey experiment didn't work? Kevin didn't want it to work, but after that didn't work. Well, if Andrew Berry ran Flacco out of town, why did he bring him back? And not only that, it's documented. Why did Andrew Berry pick up the phone and call Flacco and be like, "Hey, check this out. Cincinnati saying that they might want to grab you. You know what I'm saying? What you think?" And then Flacco told him, "Well, look, I mean, the coach over here done already benched me. So if they talking about me being a starter over there, then yeah, I'll go over there. I want to go over there and let me start. That way I can start. Because over here I'm not starting. The coach benched me." So for dude who was talking about all that Flacco magic, it's like, yeah, Andrew brought Flacco back. Because he was like, all right, Stefanski, so if you saying that you need Joe Flacco to be good, all right, well, I'm going to bring him back. And you saying pick Dillon Gabriel, all right, I'm going to pick him too. Now you got two quarterbacks to pick from. He tried the first one, Flacco looked like trash, and then he benched him. But then somehow when Flacco go to Cincinnati, he learned how to play football again. Then you put Dillon Gabriel out there. He's supposed to be the supercomputer. He throwing the ball into the dirt for a safety from his own end zone. But he the supercomputer, though. His processing ability is so amazing. But he couldn't process that if I throw the ball to nobody from my own end zone, that's intentional grounding, and then that's a safety. But he's such this processor, though. It's crazy how we've gone from that. Andrew Berry is the villain. He's responsible for everything. Andrew Berry is responsible for why this team's so trash because he only picks trash players and he don't talk to Stefanski about none of the players that he picking. He just pick them on his own. Even though Stefanski has said numerous times that they do it together. And that, yes, he has say-so and input on who's being picked. I highly doubt Andrew Berry just picking people without talking to his head coach. I highly doubt that's the case. So they just wanted it to be Andrew Berry so bad, not Kevin. Because by God, those two-time Coach of the Years mean he could do no wrong. It's been a complete turnaround. It's a complete 180. Now we're talking about how great Andrew Berry's last two drafts has been. If you look at all of the grades, the draft grades, everybody's got the Browns draft grades as an A. I got them as an A-. They total overall draft grade from top to bottom, A-. Now, I'm going to break down in just a second here. I'm about to break down. I'm going to just recite all of the picks and then break down in real time how I was going through it. Because I already recorded a video of me in real time as the picks, as the first pick, the very first pick was coming in and how, we made the trades and everything like that and give my live reaction as to how it was going and how I was extremely upset the Tennessee Titans stole Carnell Tate from us. But I will talk about that in a second. But, yeah, it's just we've done a complete 180, and then you hear the same people who were just livid because Kevin Stefanski got fired and Andrew Berry is still here. I mean, they were absolutely livid. They was like, oh, he had one hot draft. That doesn't mean anything. What does that mean? He only had one good draft. He's been here for how many years, blah, blah, blah. When what it seems the reality may have been, what it seems like might be the case. It might seem like Paul DePodesta might have had him as well as Kevin Stefanski may have had an extreme hand in a lot of the players that were getting picked. Because Buddy right there just lied and said we was picking the names. No, we weren't. We weren't picking any names. That was the problem. We was looking at like, why are we not picking these names and we picking these other people, these off-brand people, and you got people telling us that, Fruity Trinkets is the same thing as Fruity Pebbles. It's not. Now, I'm gonna use that objectively because when you come from where I come from, it is the same thing. Sometimes the Fruity Trinkets might even be better than the Fruity Pebbles. But I'm just saying for all intensive purposes. That's what I'm saying. For all intensive purposes, man. You're avoiding the name brand to get the knockoff and just hope and pray that you get the same production, that it's the same thing. Sometimes that works, but more often than not, it doesn't. And then ironically, when it seemed like Paul DePodesta was being moved out of the window, he was being moved, and then we weren't necessarily listening to every single thing that Kevin Stefanski may have said that he wanted, down to when you drafted Shedeur, that was the very first inkling that, wait a minute, guys might be on different pages here. What a guy like maybe DePodesta or Stefanski might want, Andrew Berry did something different here. And you could tell by the looks on their faces when the pick happened and how they moved forward, how Andrew Berry traded away Joe Flacco without talking to Kevin Stefanski. He only talked to Joe Flacco. He didn't talk to Stefanski. He didn't care what Stefanski thought about trading him away. And he shouldn't have, because Stefanski had benched him already. So you shouldn't be mad that I traded somebody that you benched. You just didn't want to play Shedeur. And so what I did was I traded away the opportunity for you to go back to Joe Flacco when Dillon Gabriel ain't no good and he trash. So I traded away the opportunity for you to go back to him and avoid playing Shedeur Sanders. That's what you was really mad about. But Andrew Berry and them and Jimmy Haslam seemed like they had already conspired with each other to be like, hey, look, this is the direction we going in, whether Kevin want to go over here or not. And the only thing that's going to stop that is Kevin winning games. Not no more excuses to why he not winning games. Kevin, you got to win games. We giving you what you want. We giving what you asked for. We going back to your offense, since you don't want to do nothing with Deshaun. We going back to your offense. We bringing back Joe Flacco. That was your quarterback when you had the Flacco magic. And we're going to draft Dillon Gabriel, the supercomputer that you love his processing ability so much. And Kevin, you still didn't win games, buddy. So to me, it seemed like, boom, D. Podesta was told to go ahead and get out the building. That's how come he stepped down and took that job in baseball, I believe, with the Colorado Rockies. He was gone. So when you get to add that stuff together, the selection of Shedeur, what's her name? Berry trading Flacco without talking to Kevin about it. D. Podesta stepping down and going to baseball. When you start adding that kind of stuff up, it started looking like, okay, maybe Andrew Berry and Jimmy Haslam is cutting ties with these other guys. And maybe Andrew Berry got in Jimmy Haslam's ear and was like, hey, look, man, I don't need D. Podesta over the top of me telling me what to do. Because low-key, I think I could do his job, but not only that, I think I could do it better. But you got to give me a chance to prove that to you. And I can't have Kevin getting in the way. Because Kevin want to go with whatever, D. Podesta talking about with the analytics. And, Kevin just don't like certain players anyway. Because he don't like their attitude. He don't like that they got personality. And I don't think that that's something that we should be worried about when we picking these players. Yes, we want good character guys. But everybody can't be the church mouse. You can't have a team full of Nick Chubbs. It's not going to work. Some of them guys is going to have to be off the rocker. Some of them guys is going to have this outstanding belief in themselves. One of the reasons that people like Terrell Owens or some of these other people, one of the reasons that they're so good is because they had this astronomical belief in themselves. They believe that they can do anything, whether they can or whether they can't. A part of the reason that they're so good at what they do is because they just got this great belief in themselves. You can't try to turn that down in them. No, we don't want to turn that down. We want you to be like that because that's a part of the reason why you are who you are. So we don't want to try to dial it back. No, we want you to be you. So that's what it looked like to me. That's what I want to say. It looks like these past two drafts, Andrew Berry has been able to select more of whom he feels like he should be selecting and what would work best for building a football team. And I do believe that he has a much better relationship so far, because it's always great in the beginning. You know how over time things can happen. Looks like he's got a great relationship as far as discussing and agreeing with Todd Monken about, maybe who we get and where we get them, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the reasons I think it's much easier, their relationship is much easier with doing that, is because Todd Monken is much more adaptable to players as well as player personality. He's much more adaptable. He's much more relatable. It doesn't have to be a specific kind of guy that I can relate to. I can relate to anybody wherever you get them from. It doesn't matter what walk of life they come from. There's a portion of me that can relate to them and be able to tap into that player and try to pull the best out of him. That's why I think it's so far, it seems to be working a little bit better with picking with these two individuals. And how your draft ended up being an A. Well, I said an A-, but a lot of people had A's. A's, A- was pretty much what it was. I said A-, in my opinion. So I do think that the process itself, even though maybe the way they go about it is the same, I think it's a little bit easier and a little bit better because, I think Berry has a wider range to be able to pick from, where now he actually can pick the names. As opposed to, I got to worry about big name, big personality. Kevin don't like that. So now I got to try to find the Dollar General version of said player and hope that he could be the same as the name brand guy. So that part is what I think something that has changed actually for the better, in my personal opinion. Now, let's get to the actual draft itself. Okay, so here's the list of the players that we drafted. Okay, round 1, pick number 9, Spencer Fano. Now that we got the correct enunciation of his name, it's Spencer Fano. That's his name. Offensive tackle from Utah. Round 1, pick number 24, Casey Concepcion, wide receiver from Texas A&M. Round 2, pick number 39, Denzel Boston, wide receiver from Washington. Round 2, pick number 58, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, safety from Toledo. Round 3, pick number 86, Austin Barber, offensive tackle from Florida. Round 5, pick number 146, Parker Brailsford, center from Alabama. Round 5, number 149, Justin Jefferson. Not that Justin Jefferson. This Justin Jefferson is a linebacker from Alabama. Round 5, pick number 170, Joe Royer, tight end, Cincinnati. Round 6, pick number 182, Taylon Green, quarterback, Arkansas. Round 7, pick number 248, Carson Ryan, tight end out of BYU. Okay, so those are all the picks. Those are all the guys that we picked at said positions. Okay, now let me go through my assessments as it was happening. Of course, I already talked about how I was extremely distraught. Tennessee Titans stole Cardell Tate. Then we trade back. I thought when we traded back that we traded back with the certainty that we would be able to draft Jordan Tyson at, I believe it was number 9. So when we traded back, I'm like, all right, maybe, they assured that we get Jordan Tyson at number 9, and you also pick up some other players. All right, I could kind of see that. Okay, I could kind of see that. However, at pick number 8, right before us, Jordan Tyson gets taken off the board by the Saints. I'm extremely distraught at this point. Like, what on earth are we doing? So then I'm looking at Makai Lemon. I'm like, all right, well, maybe Makai Lemon. And then I also mentioned, if not Makai Lemon, Denzel Boston was my next guy after that. So after Makai Lemon, I'm like, all right, Denzel Boston. And truth be told, I was kind of torn between the two, honestly. But I just felt like, all right, Makai Lemon had a slightly higher draft grade, you know what I'm saying, and different things of that nature. He's, viewed to be slightly more dynamic with the ball in his hands and different things, different things of that nature. So, all right, Makai Lemon, and then after that, if it ain't Makai Lemon, all right, then Denzel Boston. You know what I'm saying? That's where I was looking at, okay? But that doesn't happen. We end up taking Spencer Fano, okay? Now, I wasn't too mad about the Spencer Fano pick. I was okay with it. I was fine with it because when Cardell Tate's gone, Jordan Tyson is gone. So, we need wide receiver and we need offensive line. So at least you didn't ignore those two positions and draft a running back or somebody weird. And then not only that, you didn't take some off-brand tackle. Spencer Fano was one of the guys that was talked about. Spencer Fano, Monroe Freeling, and was one other guy that was like basically the top 3 linemen that was being talked about, more or less. And the thing with Spencer Fano, I guess, was he had shorter arms. But one of the things that I liked that was talked about, with him, was his agility. That kind of helps make up, agility, and he's more fleet of foot. The footwork aspect, you know what I'm saying? That maybe where other guys rely on their long reach, he might not necessarily have to do that because he got the wheels to be able to get out there in front of you. So he don't necessarily have to rely on his arm reach to get to you. He can rely on his agility to get to you. He's a little more agile than other, linemen who may have longer arms. And then not only that, I think his arms measured at different lengths at different times anyway. And then not only that, it ain't like he's super far off from the standard that they look for. He's just a little far off from the standard that they look for. So fine. For me, cool. We addressed it. We addressed the need. The one part I didn't like about it, he's not a left tackle, but we said that he's supposed to be a left tackle. So I don't like that. The fact that we are yet again moving a guy and having him play a position that he wasn't playing in college. if you gonna draft a guy and say for sure he's the left tackle, in my opinion, just draft the best left tackle. Whoever the best left tackle is, just get him. That'll forever be my opinion. Okay, but it's not to say that this doesn't. It won't ever work. It might. You never know, man. It might. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the difference between, in my opinion, between him and Jedrick Wills, the guy seems to have more of a fight, more of a fire to him. Where the thing with Jedrick Wills is like sometimes it didn't seem like the guy just really wanted to play football. Sometimes it didn't seem like he enjoyed playing football at all. With when this guy, he's got a clip where he's saying one of the things he enjoys so much about football is the fact that he get to control, he get to dominate pause. He get to dominate another man on the line of scrimmage. Like it's just something about that feeling of controlling. Once I block this guy and I make him go where I want him to go. Okay, there you go. You got to start somewhere, and in my opinion, that's the perfect place to start when we're talking about offensive linemen. Hey, I'm with that. Okay, now it's got to translate to the field, but 100%, I'm with that. So didn't like the fact that he wasn't a left tackle and you want to make him a left tackle, but it is what it is. And not only that, we'll never know that it's 100% true, but Monken came out and pretty much said, well, this was the guy that we was targeting all along. This is the guy we was getting ready to pick. So for us, it was a no-brainer. We was able to trade back and get extra picks and still get him. So if that was the case, where this was their guy all along, then that makes me even more okay with it. Because, well, this was the guy you was going to pick anyway. You wasn't about to pick, you know what I'm saying? You wasn't picking none of the other people. This is the guy you was going to pick anyway. And not only that, you was able to acquire more picks while still getting them. All right. Hey, I can't complain about that. I'm with it. Next, at 24, because Mekhi Lemon had already gone off the board because the Eagles jumped up in front of the Pittsburgh Steelers and stole Mekhi Lemon from him. So I'm super distraught at this point. I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing? This is crazy. Like, what's up? I'm like, now, Denzel Boston, for sure. Denzel Boston, no way around it. Denzel Boston. Come on. And then lo and behold, we pick a wide receiver, but we pick Casey Concepcion. Now, respectfully, when we initially picked him, I'm like, man, what are we doing? Because the very first thing that they said was they was like, he struggles with catching the ball. He be dropping the ball. So I was livid. I'm like, okay, so we already got Jerry Jeudy, who's an undersized, quote-unquote, wide receiver that struggles to catch the ball. And then what do we draft to go with him? Another sub 6 foot wide receiver that struggles to catch the ball. I'm like, what are we? At this point, I'm like Andrew Berry, what's up, bro? Why are you allergic to receivers that are taller than 6 foot? Why is that like just not your thing? And I don't mean like trading to acquire them. I mean like drafting them. Like, what's up, man? Why? Why all of the short wide receivers? The short, fast ones. Why that? Why? I'm not understanding it. Why? Why is that the only type of receiver you can draft? So this is my real time, what I'm thinking about. So, of course, you got to do your due diligence, okay? After I went and did my due diligence on the young man, because I watch a lot of college football. Problem is, way more college football teams than it is pro teams. So if anybody act like they watch every single college football game, you don't. So I'm not going to act like I watched every one of Texas A&M's football games and I know everything about Casey Concepcion. No, I don't. I don't. Okay? No, I don't. Cardinal Tate? Yes. Jeremiah Smith? Yes. You know what I'm saying? Denzel Boston even? Yes. You know what I'm saying? Because I kept up with more of them just because, the battle they had with Ohio State. So, I'm more inclined to keep up with those kinds of players. Or the guys who was at Miami, different stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, so I had to do some due diligence. Once I did, I found out, well, you know what? I kind of see why they got the guy. And one of the reasons why I was like, I kind of see why they got the guy is because in a lot of his highlights, Buddy was returning punts and kicks. So, I kind of changed my thinking to, and to complement that as well, they were specific about his drops by saying they classified them as focus drops. Okay, so I kind of went back to look at some of them to see if that was indeed the case. And in my opinion, yes, the majority, not all, but the majority were focus drops. And what that means is, I see an opening right here, and I'm in such a rush to get to this opening and make a play that I don't look the ball all the way in before I take my eyes off the ball and get ready to go make this move. And because of that, that's why I dropped the ball. Not, well, I just can't catch or I got butterfingers. Not that, is I got a step ahead of myself because I got so excited that I could make this play right here that I forgot I got to secure the ball first. So in my opinion, that is something that could be worked on, as opposed to people who can't catch. I'm a firm believer in either you can catch or you can't. I've never seen a guy go from being a guy who can't catch to a guy who all of a sudden figured out how to catch the ball. I've never seen that. Corey Coleman is a great example of that. Corey Brockhand Coleman, because we drafted him instead of Will Fuller, because that's who I wanted. They both ended up being injury prone, but at least when Will Fuller was on the field, he could catch. Corey Coleman, even when he was healthy and he was on the field, he couldn't catch. And then of all things, for him to keep breaking, he kept breaking his hands. It's like, all right, you can't catch already, and then now you keep breaking your hands. So I'm really not expecting you to catch the ball, bruh. So for me, it's like either you can catch or you can't. But to have like a sub note, I do kind of see the difference in a focus drop as opposed to, no, you can't catch. Like you're a guy that can't catch. Because I do agree that there's a difference in that. Because from my own personal playing experience, like, yes, because I'm a firm believer I catch the ball. I'm pretty sure Brian Hoyer would tell you that too. I'm gonna try to get him on here one day for real, because he'll remember me. We had a very great relationship. But he'll tell you I catch the ball. But yes, every receiver is gonna have one or two focus drops where you see a move that you can make, you know what I mean, and you're so thirsty to make the move, you ended up dropping the ball. Okay, so I do want to preface by saying that. And I also found out, like I say, kick, punt returner. So, all right, you got a guy who's looked at as a playmaker. He's dynamic when you just get the ball in his hands. So clearly that would scream slot guy to me. Now, when we drafted him there, everybody was saying, oh, well, he can play on the outside. I'm like, yeah, he probably can, but that is not going to be ideal. Him on one side and Jerry Jeudy on the other outside, two midgets on the outside, that don't make no sense, man. I'm looking at like Buddy probably going to be in the slot. That was my opinion. For quick hitters, bubble screens, different stuff like that. Just get the ball in his hand, end arounds. Just get the ball in his hands and let him use his speedy moves and stuff like that. One of the underrated parts of his game, though, where people was considering him outside, I will agree with this. He's very good at high pointing the ball to be a shorter receiver. That little kid he got some hops. He jumps high in the air to go get the football. I give him that. Like he might not be, he ain't tall, but Buddy jump up in the air to go get the ball. I mean, he jump up there. Some of these catches I was seeing him jump up in there. I'm like, man, he jumping high as hell off the ground. How he jump that high? And going up there and getting the ball too and securing it. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? All right, okay. Not too bad. I wanted a taller receiver, but the fact that he can play receiver and solve this issue that's been killing us with not being able to even field kicks and punts. At one point, we had a backup power running back, Deontay Foreman. We had him fielding kicks and punts. So to go from that to a guy that not only can he do it, but I think he scored like 7 touchdowns or something like that on kicks and punt returns, something like that. If it wasn't 7, it was a nice number. From a guy that can't even field the ball to a guy who can not only field it, but he catch it and he dynamic. You got to watch out for him. You know what? All right, cool. I'll live with it. So at that point, I was like, you know what? All right, we kind of, we are like a B minus right now. That's what I was thinking in my mind at that point. Because I'm like, man, I really wanted Denzel Boston, man. Why are we not getting him? And the way the other receivers went off the board, I'm like, watch this. The very next pick is going to be Denzel Boston. But lo and behold, look at God. Ooh-wee, look at the football gods. Look at Andrew Berry. Look at him cook. Round 2, what do you know? Pick number 39. I was watching on my phone real time. Denzel Boston. I was saying it with him at the same time, and I couldn't believe that he was saying the name Denzel Boston. I'm like, oh, what are we doing? And at that moment, it immediately went from B minus to B plus, maybe A minus, considering on what you do, considering on what you do in the next 2 picks, in my opinion. It was that big of a move because now the KC Concepcion pick made even more sense to me. Because you got Denzel Boston on a steal, low key. Because a lot of draft boards had him going as a first rounder. And you was able to get him in the second. Now, ideally, late first, early second, but regardless, the latter is early second. All right, you was able to get him in the second round. In my opinion, that's a steal. That's absolutely amazing. 6'4", around 210. I mean, you can't get a better red zone target than that. That's your X receiver for sure. There's your X. That's your X. Jerry Jeudy's your Z. Concepcion is your slot guy. Cedric Tillman, we'll see what happens, buddy. But for me, Denzel Boston is your X. Jerry Jeudy's your Z. Concepcion is your slot. And then Isaiah Bond is your deep threat. To me, that is a very serviceable wide receiving core. It's not the best in the league, but it is very serviceable, if you're asking me. It's much better than David Bell, Gage Larvin, and Cedric Tillman. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, immediately, that's much, much better than that at your, for your wide receiving core. So that was huge. I understood. Now I saw the vision. Now that Carnell Tate was going off the board and Makai Lemon, I feel much better about our receiving core being as though we wasn't able to get one of those guys. That alleviated my concerns. So boom, we're immediately going up. Then as we go next, we addressed a very, very important position. One of the only positions that we could say that we honestly needed to address on defense. And the safety that we got out of Toledo, he's actually was viewed as not being that far behind Caleb Downs as the best overall safety in the draft. Like, he wasn't viewed as being too far behind Caleb Downs. So you were able to steal this guy and fill that one hole that you possibly, because I ain't mad at Ronnie Hickman. I'm cool with Ronnie Hickman, honestly. But this guy, and I think he's 6'4" at safety. That's man, what? So I'm 100%. I'm like, okay, we are absolutely cooking at this point. This is wild. I'm like, okay, this is, yeah. What's up? I'm like, we up here. So next pick, and I really like this one as well. Okay. There were a few downsides, a few negatives. I ain't even going to talk about that just because he's a Florida Gator. I'm biased. Yes, I am. I'm biased. I'm biased to all Gators. Austin Barber, the offensive tackle from Florida. Because what I want to talk about, because I watched this young man personally, okay? Because maybe I might have missed one Florida Gator game. I try not to miss those games. What I will say about him personally, from me watching him, it's the aggression that he blocks with that I like. He blocks with like this certain level of aggressiveness. Like, he one of the people that when he block you, he not just comfortable with blocking you. That's not enough. Even if he get a good block on you, it's like, nah, either he got to shove you way out of the screen, or if he block you and put you on your butt, he the type to jump on top of you and flop and just flop on the pancake on top of you. After he done shoved you to the ground, just fall on you like, bam, you about to stay here. I'm not giving you a chance to get back up and get back into the play. Like, he aggressive as heck with his blocking. So my thing is this, for whatever downsides you got for him, if you asking me, that aggression that he blocks with, that's going to overcome whatever them downsides is. Now, that's just my personal opinion. Just like everybody else, the assessments will have to translate on the field. But if I'm just saying what I like about the guy, I absolutely love his aggression whenever he's going to block. Okay? Just go, all you got to do is go look, because I didn't have to look up no highlights on this guy specific. But I guarantee if you go look up them highlights on Austin Barber, I guarantee if you go look up them highlights on him, you're going to see Buddy making some aggressive blocks. I mean, blocking people either completely out of the screen or putting somebody on their butt so definitively. I mean, just boom. And then he goes to his butt. And then he'll stare down over the top of him like, yeah, I wish you would get up. Or he'll just flop on the top of him like, I'm about to make sure you don't get up. Just in case you thought about getting up, I'm about to make sure that you don't. So I love that. Absolutely, absolutely love that pick. Now, for me, from there, A-. It was an A-, and it was hard to do something that was going to change it being an A- going forward. Okay, so the remainder I'm just gonna kind of run through because honestly I don't feel like they're as much of quote unquote impact players as said guys that we've gone through so far. But Parker Brailsford, center for Alabama, as well as Justin Jefferson, the linebacker from Alabama. If you asking me, I'm not finna question it. The only position that I would probably question if you drafted him from Alabama is running back. That's probably the only. If you drafted an Alabama running back, then I might kind of question. Well, whoa. But when we talking about people on the line or backers, if we talking about any type of line, offensive line or defensive line, or backers from Alabama, I'm not finna question that in any aspect. Bro, you at Bama. They not just letting anybody be on the line or play linebacker at Alabama. You not just a scrub and you there. So I'm like, I didn't even need to do no due diligence on them. You got these cats from Alabama. Alabama not just letting anybody play linebacker. They not just letting anybody play center. It don't work like that. Not at Alabama. It doesn't work like that. I'm sorry. There's a standard over there. Even with Buddy being gone. Nick Saban. Even with him being gone. Alabama is still the standard is the standard. That's Alabama. They're not just letting anybody come in there and play line or linebacker. So those 100% off. Here's where it got really dicey for me. We drafted the tight end from Cincinnati. That's okay. Again, I don't know too much about the guy. I didn't bother to do too much on him because I believe Jack Stoll was one of the tight ends that we signed when we lost David Njoku, and then you had Harold Fannin Jr. So for me, like tight end is like, all right, like I hear you, but the way as good as Harold Fannin is, like I don't see it being all these passes to go around to another tight end that's not named Harold Fannin Jr. So, even if these other guys, maybe they do catch one or two passes here, I don't see them taking Harold Fannin Jr.'s spot, and maybe they being brought in just for different scheme stuff and as far as, like blocking and different things of that nature. Not to say that the guys can't catch. I don't know, because I'm not going to lie like I looked up Joe Royer. I'm not going to lie like I looked him up, because I didn't. Okay? I just looked at it like it's depth at the tight end position. All right, cool. No problem. Depth at the tight end position. Great. Taylon Green, quarterback, Arkansas. This one I really didn't see coming at all. And I think it ticked a lot of people off because all of mind you, if you listen to all these people who supposedly are the insiders of Cleveland and the beat writers and beat reporters, they all wanted to sell you on Malik Willis, Anthony Richardson, Garrett Nussmeier, Ty Simpson, and a bunch of other whoever's. And ironically, none of these people, Ty Simpson didn't get drafted by the Browns. Browns weren't interested in Ty Simpson. They showed no interest in Ty Simpson at all. Garrett Nussmeier, they showed no. What's the other kid? What's the other one? Man, I forget the kid name. Slipped my mind from Cade Klubnik. Cade Klubnik. They wasn't worried about him. Cade Klubnik went somewhere else. They wasn't looking at him. Of all the quarterbacks in this draft they could have been looking at, what do you know? They picked the quarterback from Arkansas. Now, I saw a couple of his games, not a lot. I only saw a couple of games in the SEC, so I ain't got no choice but to see a couple of his games. So I saw a couple of his games. Again, upside is, 6'5", 6'6" type of guy. I believe they said he ran a 4.3. Also, the vertical, his vertical was out of this world. So basically, the intangibles is just off the chart. Now, for some people, they like, oh, well, these intangibles don't mean anything. They're just intangibles. You could be a wide receiver probably, but, you shouldn't be drafting a quarterback just based on the intangibles. Whoop, whoop, whoop. But that's exactly what happened with Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson didn't get drafted because he's such this accurate he's so great at playing quarterback. He got drafted because look at his physique and he runs like a deer. He runs a 4. Look at that. Look at how fast that 40 is. And he's got the big arm. It doesn't matter if he's accurate. The arm is just big. He can throw it really far and really hard. Doesn't matter if he could throw it to who he's trying to throw it to. But just because the arm is so big and he can throw it so far and he's so strong and he's so athletic and he has this physique, we gotta take him this early. That was what was said. So to make it seem like, it's a reach for drafting this kid based on his, numbers, well, I mean, he got drafted in the 6th round. Anthony Richardson, I think, might have got drafted 6th overall. I don't think it was 6. I actually think it was earlier than that, but I was just being facetious, making, 6th round pick, 6 overall, just basically showing the difference. And then respectfully, number one, I would try to work with him at quarterback just to see what you got. Let me just see what you got there first before I make any determinations or denominations. Let me just see what you got at quarterback first. I think you're a project. You brought in to be a project. I'd rather have you be the project than Dillon Gabriel. Because if anything else is more clear that Dillon Gabriel was Kevin Stefanski's pick, well, why would a new head coach, be drafting Taylor Green in the 6th round? Why would we be doing that? Because if you ask me, that as soon as we did that signified Dillon Gabriel, you got to go. I hope Kevin Stefanski want another left-handed quarterback on his roster because you go down there and you join him. But as far as I'm concerned, that sealed the fate of Dillon Gabriel. You don't need him no more. What you need a midget for, and you got this kid right here, the 6'5", with the immeasurables that are off the chart. He might not be the supercomputer, but for so far, Dillon Gabriel ain't been that either. So I'd rather go with the guy that's got the measurables than the midget who's supposed to be the supercomputer. Let me not say that. Let me not say midget because some people might take that offensive. The short quarterback, the 5'9" guy with no measurables, and he's supposed to be the supercomputer, but I ain't seen the supercomputer processing stuff on the field yet. I ain't seen that out there yet. But I did see him throw the ball to nobody from his own end zone, intentional grounding, and take a safety. I did see that. And then last but not least, and so look, they might experiment with Buddy. Hey, look, he got the measurables. Maybe you experiment with him in some trick package stuff like they do with Taysom Hill over there at the Saints. Taysom Hill been on that roster for I don't know how many years now, and he started out coming in as a quarterback, and they found everything to do with him and every way to use him besides quarterback. So if they found a way to be successful with him, I'm pretty sure that Todd Monken and the Browns can find a way to be successful using Taylor Green, whether it's at quarterback or whether it's some gadget stuff. So I'm completely fine with it. Go ahead and get your boy. He cool at round 6. If we drafted Dillon Gabriel in round 3 for Kevin Stefanski, we can draft Taylor Green in round 6 for Todd Monken and see what he can do with him. And then last but not least, Carson Ryan, another tight end from BYU. Again, that pick I didn't necessarily like. I was like, all right, we just piling tight ends. But when we done got that late into the draft with all the other players that we picked and how we filled out the roster, I could have cared less. Pick who you want to pick at that point. I don't care. The last pick that you got to get, whoever you want. You want to pick another tight end coach, go ahead. Whatever. I really don't care. Stop moving the needle in one direction or the other for me at that point. So overall, I get the overall draft grade an A- for Andrew Berry. And, in closing, I'll say yet again, the turnaround's been absolutely crazy from the people who were just, livid that Kevin Stefanski got fired and Andrew Berry was still here, because Andrew Berry don't know how to pick players. He don't know how to pick talent. And the only reason that the Browns were so trash is because Andrew Berry didn't pick any talent for Kevin Stefanski to coach. When I was saying it was the exact opposite. Kevin Stefanski can't coach talented players because talent usually comes with a personality. Every player that's talented ain't about to be Nick Chubb. And to me, it seemed like Kevin Stefanski don't know how to deal with players who aren't Nick Chubb, who don't have the attitude of Nick Chubb. If you got a fly attitude, or maybe you come from a urban style of life, for lack of a better term, maybe if you come from that area, that walk of life, it doesn't seem like he know how to relate to you. Doesn't seem like he really likes you. Doesn't really seem like he want too much to do with you, honestly. And you even hear that from certain players. Quinshon Judkins talking about the first time he met Todd Monken and how it was a complete day and night situation from the old coach. He was like, I thought it was going to be like the old coach, who was real stoic, didn't really say much. Monken is the exact opposite. I mean, He hands on with it and he want to talk to you and, hey, you know, this is how I see you doing this or whatever, what have you. Complete opposite. I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think that's as ironic as people make it seem. You know, the same way that this stuff came, you know, y'all didn't want to say that he was doing stuff to Shedeur or he didn't like Shedeur. But, I mean, just look at the evidence. This stuff is just, it's very ironic the way that the new coach handles it as opposed to how it was being handled with the previous coach and coaching staff. I mean, it's just crazy. It's night and day. So now you're hearing people start to actually praise the same people who just were pounding the table that they couldn't believe Andrew Berry was still here after Kevin Stefanski got because it's all Andrew Berry's fault, especially with him giving Deshaun Watson that $230 million. Even though Haslam said it was his fault, we don't believe Haslam saying that. We still think that it was Andrew Berry. And he's the reason that the Browns suck. It's just because of him. Because remember, it used to be was just Deshaun Watson. But then once Deshaun Watson got moved off of the field, and then you had 52 other quarterbacks that Kevin Stefanski trotted out there after that, and he couldn't find sustained success with any of them 52 other quarterbacks that he trotted out there that he added on the name of the back of the jersey with all the quarterbacks that have been started for us. Out of them other 52 that he had after Deshaun Watson, he couldn't find any sustained success with any one of them quarterbacks. So how the heck was it just Deshaun Watson's fault? Or it wasn't. So now we got to pivot to, well, it's Andrew Berry. Because Andrew Berry keeps picking all these trash players, and he's not asking Kevin Stefanski what he wants. When I said it's just preposterous to think that the GM is just picking players without talking to the coach. I don't care who the coach wants. I'm just about to throw darts at the board and pick whoever I want to. That sounds ridiculous. That sounds terrible, especially when Kevin Stefanski was telling you out of his own mouth, yes, I got input in on this. Yes, I got stuff to do with the people who being drafted. That's why I think you got Cedric Tillmans and David Bells. These guys that don't say nothing at receiver, as opposed to, one thing that you notice about a lot of the best receivers, not all of them, but the majority of them, they're usually classified as divas. Usually. Because usually if a receiver good and he know he good, he going to want the ball and he going to tell you that he want the ball. And in fact, if I got a receiver that don't want the ball and won't tell me that he wants the ball, I don't know if I want you to be my receiver, especially not the starter. Because you don't feel enough like you need the ball because you won't tell me that you need the ball. All receivers that I know that's good for the most part, at some point they going to tell you, hey, get me the ball. I want the ball. I need the ball. Throw it to me. I'm pretty sure Ja'Marr Chase don't gotta go tell the, but please believe if they not distributing the ball to him, Ja'Marr Chase about to go to somebody and be like, hey, you do remember I'm on the team, right? Throw it to me. Maybe we wouldn't be losing if you throw it to me. I want a receiver that's got that attitude. Because if you don't, I don't trust you. Because it don't seem like you trust yourself because you're not asking for the ball. So I don't know if you trust yourself, bro. So I don't know if I want you being my starter at that point. So overall, man, A-. And like I say, at the end of the day, it all has to translate on the football field. But what I will say is this, from the objective side, for all of the others, all of the naysayers, I do firmly believe now that with the new head coach, the new system that he's going to be implementing with his new philosophy and way of thinking, which is I'm going to cater stuff to my players as opposed to just run my system. So you got the new head coach, you got the new philosophy, you got a new playbook, and you now have pieces on offense. So we can't just say that the offensive line is absolutely trash and there's a bunch of Arena League football players out there. We can't say that. And we can't say we ain't got no wide receivers. We can't say that no more. We can't say we ain't got no wide receivers no more. We got a 6'4", 210, go get him on the outside. And then we got the playmaker coming out the slot. Now, Jerry Jeudy, you could be the number 2 like we always say that you is. So you got a line that presumably would be blocking for you. And you also have solid, I'm not going to say they just sweet or whatever, because again, 2 of them rookies. But still, you got solid, because Harold Fannin was a rookie, and look at what he did. So you got solid options as far as throwing the football. So with all that being said, quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, whomever else, it's set up for us to get a real live look at you. Now we can get a real live look at you and say what you are or what you aren't. So with all this stuff being done, Deshaun, if you go out there and you look trash, then you just as washed as everybody has been saying that you've been washed. Shedeur, if you go out there and you look trash, then you just as trash as everybody been saying that you've been trash just looking at your EPA. So respectfully, with the stuff that we got now, hey, quarterbacks, it's on y'all. Because it's set up for you to be able to be successful now. So quarterbacks, it's on y'all. If y'all look trash and you can't have any type of success with this, then now we got to start looking at getting other quarterbacks. Dogs on the couch, signing off.